You can go on back in the house. I'm probably just going to spend the night out here tonight. Hello and welcome back to Dead or Alive Kayaking. Today I want to talk about a pastime or a sport that pretty much goes hand in hand with kayaking, and that's going to be camping. And my preferred method of camping is hammock camping. So I'm going to show you the equipment that I've got. We'll go over the basic necessities for hammock camping, and then a few mods or upgrades that I've made to some of my equipment or you might make to yours. Also going to show you that you don't have to invest a whole ton of money to be able to get into hammock camping. It's a fairly easy sport to get into, and it doesn't break the bank. So let's start by dumping out the gear that I've got here. Okay, so I ran out of light yesterday, and then we had some rain. So what I've done, I've got the stuff on the ground here just like I had when I dumped it out yesterday, and I went ahead and set up the rainfly. So I'll go over the components that you need, and then I'll show you everything else and we'll get it set up. First thing I've got is a big dry bag that I carry everything in, and that's all it is a dry bag backpack. I think this one is a 30 liter. It's just something that I can put all this stuff in and keep it together when I've got it on the kayak or in the house. Inside here is actually my hammock, and my hammock comes with a bug net attached to it. We'll go over that after a while. And the underquilt, and we'll cover underquilts too. This is a top quilt. We'll cover it. The rest of it is stakes and carabiners and additional cordage, just things that I might need to get everything set up. Maybe an extra tree strap or something like that. Okay, so here's my rainfly, and I've got it set up between the trees here. Normally, if I'm actually camping, I won't set it up quite as high. I'll set it up a little bit lower down, just for insulatory purposes. And then I've got the tree straps here already attached to the trees. Okay, the tree straps that actually come with the hammock is just that. It's a long strap, and it's got a loop on each end of it. It's just made for wrapping around the tree and then attaching the hammock to the end of the loop sticking out. The ones that I use are more of an endless loop design, and they have multiple attachment points all the way down along the length, with the exception of the top 2 or 3 feet that wraps around the tree. They're just a little bit easier to use and a little bit handier. So let me get the hammock hung up here, and I'll show you how all this works. We'll get it hung up and get that gear snake pulled back off of it. Alright, here's the hammock and everything hung up on the straps. The gear snake is still over the equipment. We'll just get this opened up. Now, because I have my underquilt on with this, it does have to be kind of milked down just a little bit, but it's not at all difficult to open this up or to get it closed back up. It is a little harder to do it one-handed. And that just slides back, and the gear snake stays right there on the strap. So we go inside and look. And just like that, we have the basic components that you need for hammock camping. Obviously you need a hammock to start with. You need straps to be able to tie it to the trees. You don't have to have an underquilt, but I highly recommend them, and we'll go over that. And you don't have to have a rainfly, but we'll go over that. Basically the hammock and the straps are what gets you started. Now my hammock is a cheaper one. Is a mass-produced hammock. I bought it off of Amazon. I think for the hammock, the rainfly, the bug net, which is attached to the hammock, and the straps was $55 or $56. Now you can go with some of the cottage industry manufacturers and some of the other makers, the bigger names, Eagle's Nest for example. The same equipment, the hammock, the rainfly, and a bug net will cost you $200 plus. And some of the other makers will cost you even more than that. I'll go over a couple of the changes I made to my system. Besides the gear snake, you saw it down here. This just helps when you're packing everything up. The gear snake slides back over everything just like you saw it slide off. Keeps it up off the ground, keeps it bundled tight, makes it a lot easier to maintain control of. It never even touches the ground if you don't want it to when you're taking it down or putting it up. I also changed out the carabiner on the head end to a red one, red for head. So as soon as I pick up the gear snake with the hammock inside it, I know which end is going to be my head end and can set it up accordingly. I upgraded the tree straps like I had mentioned earlier. These are great. Some of your other equipment, if you want to keep it up off the ground at night, you can hang it in these additional places on here, or you can take one of these straps and hang it completely separately and hang all of your equipment on it. And you know, in addition to, but other than the one that you have your hammock hanging on, just hang this one to the side between two trees and hang your packs and food and coolers and everything up off of it. Now I mentioned the underquilt a while ago. What this is basically an insulated quilt that hangs on the underside of your hammock. It holds an airspace. It doesn't fit up tight against the bottom of the hammock. It actually holds a 3 or 4 inch air gap between you and it, and allows your body heat to heat up that air and maintain some warmth in there on the underside of it, so you don't have airflow running across underneath you and draining body heat from you that way. This is a 3 or 4 season underquilt. In addition to keeping you warm, it also keeps the mosquitoes from being able to find out that they can bite you through that hammock on the underside. Now the top quilt, let me set the camera down for just a second and get it out of its compression bag there, and I'll show it to you. Okay, the top quilt is exactly what it sounds like. It's a blanket, basically a top quilt. This one has, you see this little tab and this little tab on the sides. These are to kind of tuck down beside you in the hammock just to help keep the blanket in place while you're asleep overnight. It also has in the bottom a foot box. Stick your feet down in there. It helps to keep them warm, and again also helps to keep the blanket in place. And then the rest of it just pulls up like a blanket over you. And It helps to keep you warm. Now there are, like with all this stuff, there are a lot more expensive options on the market for you. There are some that snap together that make sleeves in them or snap around your face and all that. I live in the deep south. Didn't really need that much thermal protection. If it's going to be that cold, it's probably in the weather forecast, and I just don't go. Same with rain. This tarp did not leak when it rained overnight. We've had probably a ½ inch of rain since I set it up yesterday, and it didn't leak. It's still fairly dry underneath. There's no water on the inside of it, so it's held for my purposes. Again, if there's going to be that much rain, I probably don't need to be out camping somewhere anyway. For showers and stuff like that, it's fine. It's never let me down. It's kept me dry all along. All of this stuff has worked fine for me, and none of it has cost me a fortune. And again, speaking of costing a fortune, I just wanted to point out that what you see right here in this shot, the rainfly, the underquilt, the hammock, and the bug net, I've got, and the snakeskin, the gear sleeve up there, I've got less than $200 in all this stuff. And I think that even includes the top quilt as well. I've got it's like $198 and change on there versus $800 or $1,000 that you can spend on this stuff with some of the cottage brands. So a really good source of information on stuff like this, on budget camping gear and how to set it up and whatnot, it is here on YouTube. There are a million videos on how to set up rainflies a certain way, or how to arrange and adjust your underquilt, how to set up the hammock. One that I found in particular that I really liked was by a guy named Lone Wolf 902. He does a video. It's on budget camping gear. He uses all one wind gear, and has a great video, goes step by step and piece by piece through all of it. It's kind of a long watch, but very informative, and I highly recommend it. I also recommend, if you're new to hammock camping or just getting into it, that you take this stuff and do what I've done here. Set it up in the yard, practice setting it up, taking it down, even video yourself taking it down and setting it up, and look for mistakes, look for ways that you can make it easier or faster, or things that you can do different, and be familiar with your equipment. When you get out in the woods in the middle of nowhere and start to set it up, that's not the time to try to figure out how to learn to use it. So there you go. You don't have to spend a whole ton of money to get into hammock camping. In fact, I would recommend to start with that you don't spend a ton of money. I shopped all this stuff on Price Point and reviews on Amazon. I'll link all of the gear that I use down in the description, and I may eventually upgrade to some of the higher end or higher priced equipment, but for now all of this suits me just fine. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one.